What's up guys, Block FPL here and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video on my channel. Today, obviously, let's talk about Game Week 30. First, I will briefly go over my team. I don't have any huge plans at the moment, and then I'll talk about sort of the best options, what I would do if I was wildcarding, which there's not much there, but there are a couple of things that I have a strong opinion on, but there's really not much. And then I sort of want to put some statistics into context, and that sort of goes along with captaincy as well as checking out a new site, or not a new site. It's a site that I've used for a while, but I think it's pretty helpful. But start off with my team right away. There are no real obvious transfers. The people on the chopping block that I want to get rid of soon are possibly Gundogan. I'm worried about them against Leeds being rotated, Man City in general. As you can see, I have two Man City players on the bench as well. So those guys are probably going to be some of the first to go. I still think they can get points when they play, but I'm sort of past the stage of I don't think their defense is quite good enough for me to deal with the rotation at the moment. You know, they started conceding a little bit and giving up some chances. So with that, I'm sort of it's time to sell given their price and given the rotation. I think Salah has great fixtures. I have to keep him. In many ways, he could become a transfer in for a lot of people very soon. All my defenders have good matchups this week, but pretty soon after that, it can go bad for players like Dallas, and obviously the same goes for Bamford. And Target, I believe he has tough fixtures. Let's click on him real quick because I can't quite remember. Yeah, so they play Liverpool and Man City out there this week. So, and this sort of ties into what I wanted to talk about with wildcarding, but I'm just going to say it. I don't think I'm going to make any transfers this week. The one player I'm interested in is potentially Jesse Lingard, but again, the fixtures aren't amazing. They play Wolves this week, and I'm not too enticed by that. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to hold it as is. I think Gundogan coming back against Leicester, there's a decent chance he starts, and that's really the only player I'm not super confident in. I think all my strikers, amazing fixtures. Salah, of course, has not been performing, so there's some doubt about him. But other than that, besides Salah and Gundogan, I quite like how my team looks. So I'm going to leave it as is and go into next week with 2 free transfers. Now, let's talk about if I was wildcarding, what I would do, because a lot of people are around that stage right now. I think it's a tough week, and let me clarify, I don't think it's a bad week to wildcard necessarily, but there are a lot of things to keep in mind. So one, I think if you can, or if somehow it works, you want one Leeds player, maybe two, because it will make it easy for you to have them come the end of the season. Game weeks 34 through 38, you're probably going to want at least 2 Leeds players. I think they're going to remain an attacking threat throughout the course of the season. And Dallas, of course, playing in center mid, he's going to be a good FPL option. So Bamford, Rafinha, Dallas is going to be in a lot of teams, and rightfully so. I think at some point you're going to want the triple up. So maybe they're maybe Dallas, for example, he's on your bench for these weeks, and then you put him back in. But again, it's kind of a trouble with wildcarding. We want him this week, and then all of a sudden we don't want him, and then we do want him. But perhaps you could make the case that Liverpool and Manchester United aren't super tough fixtures as we may view them on paper. But that's another question, or another story completely. Man City players in general, I don't think I would be too interested in them on wildcard besides KDB. And the 2 things that I'm very confident in on wildcard is I think I would honestly go either double or triple Chelsea defense, maybe with Mendy. They have good fixtures. There's nothing else to say, and they've been the best defense recently. They kept clean sheets against. Let's go check who they kept clean sheets against. And this is sort of putting statistics into context. They kept clean sheets against all these in a row: Man United, Liverpool, Everton, Leeds. These are all teams that have attacking threat. This is not Fulham, Sheffield United, and then, Aston Villa. That's significantly more impressive what they've done compared to, playing, 4 easy fixtures. Up here when they kept clean sheet against Newcastle, and then a couple weeks before that it was Burnley. That's not really proving too much to us, but this run recently has been very impressive. So I think their defensive numbers are incredible when you consider the fixtures they've had. I quite like the Chelsea defenders. The one issue is the rotation, obviously, and it's a huge risk. I think my favorites are Azpilicueta, Rudiger, he's simply so much cheaper, and then Mendy, because at least he's going to play, even though there are decent goalkeeper options elsewhere. So those three are the ones I would target. I'm not sure which ones I would end up getting if I was on wildcard, but knowing me, and I kind of like defensive double ups and triple ups, I would probably end up going with the triple option, and then maybe like a Wolves defender. They have great fixtures, and maybe a cheap Liverpool guy. Probably not. Probably maybe Dallas. Because I could bench him, as I said, and then play him later. So that would probably be how the defensive structure looked. Kane and Son is the other thing I'm very confident in. So Tottenham attackers, and then of course Chelsea defenders is what would be in my wild card. Other than that, there's not a lot of certainties. Bamford and Rafinha would be nice, but of course we don't know if we can fit them in on the bench for the key weeks. And I think it's a choice of KDB or Bruno. I don't think you're going to be able to fit in both, unless you don't go Salah, and then you could go both. So that's sort of a big decision there. I think 2 of the 3 is probably the way to go. And with that said, I want to talk about some statistics I've heard as far as captaincy goes. I was watching a video and they were talking about how Newcastle have actually improved defensively recently. Like, they're not that bad. Well, I still think they are bad. And while most people, even if they say, okay, Newcastle aren't that bad defensively, they would probably still acknowledge that Kane is the best captaincy option. But I think Newcastle's recent slight improvements defensively aren't really that great. So let's try to put this into context a little bit. And I think it's meaningful, but maybe you disagree. So they played Brighton, Aston Villa, West Brom, and Wolves. I think these teams are making their numbers look a little bit better, especially the likes of West Brom and Villa, who have not been attacking well at all recently. But if you look at the last 4 games, they haven't played big teams. So if we're looking at numbers over the last 4 games, like some people like to do, it can be, I think it makes Newcastle look a little bit better than they are. So, if that's a worry for you, I think maybe don't worry about it so much with Kane. And obviously Kane's reliable, so there's plenty of reasons to go for Kane this week. I think Bamford's also a captaincy option, and of course Son as well. You can make the case for Bruno too, but I don't think his recent numbers prove that. I think that's more of a pick based on what he's done in the further away past. His numbers recently have not been great, especially goal threat. So yeah, Kane for me, I think the Newcastle slight improvement is a little overrated, and no big changes to my team. Now I've talked a lot about understat.com, but I want to go to WhoScored.com. I use this at the beginning of the season. I think it's pretty effective at getting simple stats across. So here I have it sorted by total shots per game over the course of the season. And this is just to illustrate how good Jesse Lingard has been. He's only played 619 minutes, so it's a relatively small sample size. And in that time period, if we take a look at their fixtures, if I can find West Ham, if we take a look at West Ham's fixtures, they played, so what's that, the past 6 or 7? They played Arsenal, Man United, Leeds, Man City, Tottenham, Sheffield, Fulham. So some easy matchups, but a lot of mid-table to hard matchups in that time period. Maybe somehow that's favored Lingard. We don't really know yet. We haven't seen that much of him playing very easy teams. But we have 3 shots per game from Jesse Lingard. That's more than Mane, Watkins, Calvert-Lewin over the course of the season. That's 0.1 behind Salah, Bruno, and Bamford. And they're all in the top 5. So Lingard's numbers have simply been amazing. I said outstanding and amazing combined. But for his price, he has been amazing, and there's no other way around that. And I think he actually is a good option on wildcard, given the fact that Leicester have not defended amazingly well recently. A Sheffield United 5-0 tells me nothing, to be honest. Sheffield United are terrible, but before that, they conceded 1 to Brighton, and they conceded 1 to Burnley, and they conceded 1 to Arsenal. So they have conceded some goals at least. So maybe after this Wolves game, Wolves is okay as well, but if we look at West Ham's fixtures, they play Wolves and Leicester, and I think in both of those games, it's easily possible that West Ham score 1 or 2. So I think Lingard's a viable option. You hold him through some okay fixtures, and then you can get to some good ones later. And one downside with his 3 shots on target, by the way, or 3 shots, is 1.1 of those come from outside of the box per game, but still 1.7 in the penalty area per 90 minutes. And this is also to show how good Harry Kane's been over the course of the season. Leads kind of significantly over the other options. And also Patrick Bamford. If we sort by penalty area shots per game, Patrick Bamford is #1. He beats Salah and Kane. You know, these guys love these shooting statistics. They're so good at them. Bamford, he's just been great all season. So I plan on holding Bamford and Kane the rest of the way out, and I think this is why Bamford has so many goals. He gets in great positions and gets sometimes great finishes, sometimes easy goals. So, yeah, in general, I like Tottenham attack. I think they're reliable now with not much going on. Chelsea defense has been too good to ignore, even with other things going on. I think Lingard has been outstandingly impressive. Numbers, everything. I would expect him to go down a little bit, but even if they do go down, he's right up there with probably the more expensive options, like, I don't know, Mahrez. Who are the best 8 million mids? I don't even know. Mahrez, Richarlison, I don't even know. But either way, he's good value at his price for sure. So gunning again to Lingard could be a good move for a lot of people coming up soon. And Leeds guys, you want them in the future, but it is a dilemma whether to hold on to them right away. So that basically concludes the video. Now, to talk about my team in longer term, I will just mention that Calvert-Lewin's got to go at some point. I've got a lot of kind of tough fixtures coming up pretty soon. I don't expect Gundogan to play against Leeds. I don't know. It's just my prediction for how they will be rotated. I think Leeds could see some, the Man City Leeds game could see some rotation from Pep. So I have 3 City, and then all of a sudden I have Leeds playing Man City, and then I have Calvert-Lewin, who I don't really want anymore, and I've got Target, who has a bad matchup next week. So I have to figure out what to do, but I have 2 free transfers next week to deal with all that. So call it procrastinating, call it what you want, but hopefully I get the green arrow this week, like last week, that brought me up to 48,000. And I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the video, but if you caught the April Fool's video and it confused you in any way, I'm sorry, but I feel like I did make it kind of clear that I was joking, especially once I got to the Firmino being guaranteed 20-plus goals and Liverpool being the best team in the league. So that is that, and hopefully you guys have a good game week, and I will see you guys in the deadline stream, possibly. I assume I'll have one, but yeah, I will see you guys then. Have a good game week, just not as good as mine, of course, and I will see you next time.